I'm now going to complicate it a little bit, and I'm going to introduce you to one of the most important words in economics, which we will come up again repeatedly, and that word is margin. Margin means the extra or additional. It comes from that idea of the margin, that I'm almost at the edge, and now to take the next step or the next step. What is the additional unit? What is the additional thing that I'm going to call margin? And so we're going to use this idea of marginal cost. And we're going to see what that does to our understanding of the PPF. So continuing with PPF 1, my first country, I went from 90 pounds of wheat to 70 pounds of wheat. That was, I lost 20 pounds of wheat in order to get 10 pounds of rice. What that means is each extra, look at that word extra, that's marginal. Each extra pound of rice, 1 pound rice, cost me 2 pounds wheat. If I gave up 20 pounds of wheat in order to get 10 pounds of rice, that means 1 pound of rice was 2 pounds of wheat, right? That's all the idea of the margin is. And I did it by dividing 20 by 10, which was 2. That was the 20 that I gave up, and this is the 10 that I got. So this divided by that. Can you see that that's just the slope? That's all it is. It's the slope. That by that, right? Now, this is a straight line. And so what you're going to see is that, okay, right now I'm at this point B. What if I want an additional unit of rice? One more rice. So I want to go from 10 to 11. Or make it easier, let's say I want to go 10 pounds of rice, I want to go from 10 to 20, right? That means I'm going to have to go from 70 to 50 to come to point C. And there I lost 20 wheat to get 10 rice. 2 pounds of wheat per rice, right? If I wanted to go to 30 pounds, same thing. I would have to give up 20 wheat and get 10 rice to reach D, and so on. Because it's a straight line, I essentially keep on losing 20 wheat for each additional 10 pounds of rice, or I keep on costing me 2 pounds of wheat for 1 pound of rice. So the cost of rice is 2 pounds wheat. That's what it costs me. That's really all the cost of rice is. 2 pounds wheat. That's what I give up. Right? And it's simple in this case because it's a straight line. And this means that this is a situation that I am going to call constant marginal costs. This happens when moving from wheat to rice or vice versa does not have any impact on the productivity of the people who are doing the production, right? So what that results in is essentially a pretty constant rate of transformation from one product to another when I move resources. And this is therefore called essentially a situation of, sometimes it's called constant opportunity costs, sometimes it's called constant productivity, and that's one situation. But that's actually not what usually happens in an economy. So to think more clearly of what happens in an economy, let's take an economy which is more realistic, where the goods you produce are not just all the same. You've got cars and dairy. They're very different kinds of goods. I put all my resources into cars. no dairy. I'm right here, T. All right? And then I say, you know what? I think that I would like 10 pounds of dairy. Now, when I do that, here is something very interesting that happens. I put all my resources into cars. This includes land that's really not that great for cars, but great for dairy. This includes people whose skills are in dairy farmers, but they're producing cars. So the first thing I'm going to do is it's going to be the least productive, the people who are really not that great at producing cars, whom I'm going to pull out and put into dairy production. So I won't lose a whole lot of cars. I will lose just a little bit of cars. Yeah? These guys were not that good at producing cars anyway. So maybe this will go from 100 to 95, right? And I'll get 10. So that's the first thing that happened when I go to B. I lost a little bit of cars. I got a lot of dairy. So in this case, I lost 5 cars. I got 10 dairy. I'm only losing about half a car per unit of dairy, all right? Pretty low. Okay. I want another 10. Now I'm going to be pulling more sort of folks who are maybe not that great at producing cars, but also not that great at producing dairy. So let's say that instead of just going from 100 to 95, I drop to 80. So I've lost 15 in order to get 10 more dairy. And I go here to C. I keep doing this. And then essentially what starts to happen is, let's say I've hit this point D, and then from here on, every 10 units of cars that I want, of dairy that I want, I lose a ton of cars because these people are really terrible at producing dairy. But you're going to lose a lot of cars for a little bit of dairy. So by the time you come here from 30 to 40, you lost a whole bunch of dairy production. And so what you start to see is you start off with very low losses or opportunity cost. And then as you keep moving from one production to the other, your opportunity cost keeps increasing. It gets steeper and steeper. So the curve that you see will usually be bowed out. This shape of the production possibility frontier, the fact that it's bowed in this way as opposed to a straight line or bowed inward, is a sign of law of decreasing marginal productivity or the law of increasing marginal costs. This is the standard reflection of what happens in an economy when you see production choices. And so always think of the production possibility frontier as giving you a sense of opportunity costs, giving you a sense of options, letting you understand if you've got unemployment, are you inside or outside, inside or on the curve, and giving you a sense of growth. What is it going to do for me to shift it out? That is everything you need to know about production decisions, production options for an economy. Next, we're going to take a look at the actual decision-making processes which let you see how an economy ends up in one of these situations. Thank you.